Carson Beck coming back for another year at Georgia. This is massive. And to me, this makes a lot of sense because when you talk about Carson Beck and his potential draft stock, like this season, Caleb Williams, Drake May getting a lot of buzz, Jaden Daniels deservedly getting a lot of buzz based on the season he had. When you look to next season, is there one guy definitively that you're taking ahead of Carson Beck? And I'm not saying who you would take ahead of Carson Beck. I'm saying like the gap is just extremely wide heading into next season. Shedeur Sanders, I could see it. He's super talented. I'd still take Carson Beck. Riley Leonard, maybe he has a great year at Notre Dame next year and changes my opinion. I still take Carson Beck. Quinn Ewers, I'm not so sure that Quinn Ewers, if they win the national title, ends up coming back for another year. It sounds like he's 90%, means there's the 10% chance there, which I think if you win a national title, maybe you ride off into the sunset, into the sunset if you're Quinn Ewers. But even so, Carson Beck, I think, is very much so in that conversation with Quinn Ewers. I think Carson Beck has been probably more consistent in the sample size we've seen from him. So what does it mean for Georgia? The first thing I'll say is take my money when it comes to the preseason odds for them to win a national title in 2024. You're saying, JD, you're being hyperbolic. You're being over the top. Am I? This is a team that I think if they were healthy, nobody would want to see in a 4-team, much less a 12-team playoff right now. We're going to 12 next season. Second part of that is this was always the big question mark for Georgia, right? Hey, who's going to be the quarterback next year? No more Brock Bowers next year, more than likely. We're going to go ahead and assume that. What's going to happen to Georgia when they get to next year if they have an inexperienced quarterback and they play just a gauntlet of a schedule? You got Texas, got Clemson to start the year. Like, it's not an easy road. And if you don't have a quarterback, like, they got a quarterback now. And a quarterback that not only was really good this year, 72% of his passes completed, he also is going to be able to build off of what he did last season with Mike Bobo. And I don't think we should take that for granted now. I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. If you're Carson Beck, you have the opportunity now to go from conversational in the Mike Bobo offense, which I think is even a scary thought given how good he was last year. 22 touchdowns and 6 picks, over 3,700 yards. Conversational to fluent in this offense. Meaning I don't think we've seen Carson Beck's very best just yet. That would be counterintuitive to think that we've seen his very best given one season as a starter. You go to next season, and I know the competition gets more stiff. I know it's a more difficult task without Brock Bowers. Again, we're just kind of assuming that, but you throw him into the mix, man. I really, really think that he is going to keep this offense where it's at. And they scored 37 points a game this year. Now you talk about the defense and say, okay, well, that's obviously a big part of them having to make that national title run. I understand that too, but look at who's running that show. Tell me if you trust this defense. Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, Will Muschamp. I feel good about trusting them. We saw them play with some younger guys this season who are going to get a full offseason under their belt this upcoming year. I trust them to have that defense ready to play. I don't think we'll see a drop-off in the Georgia defense with those three guys in charge. And then you pair back in what we just talked about this entire segment. Carson Beck running the show. Good things are happening. Good things are happening for Georgia as a whole, man. So I think if the defense stays where they are, and I expect them to, and the offense continues to improve how they are, they're going to be dangerous, man. They're going to be extremely, extremely dangerous. And again, I keep going back to this point. Even if Georgia got put in the playoff this year, I would pick them to win the whole thing. I picked them to win the whole thing at the beginning of the year. We didn't account for the injuries of Alad McConkey and Brock Bowers. Didn't account for Jalen Muto being that dude. We're not being sore losers here. I'm just saying, you expand it to 12, you give Georgia time to get healthy. Whether they win the SEC or not, given an experienced quarterback like Carson Beck now, which is a word you couldn't say last year. You couldn't say he was experienced. You could say he was talented. You could say he looked like he was in control of the offense a lot, but he wasn't experienced. Now you give him a chance to revisit a shot like he was in Atlanta, revisit a spot like he was, trying to make the college football playoff. He'll play in a New Year's Six bowl game this season. Like, the experience he's getting by exposure to these big moments, it means something. It makes them more dangerous offensively. And the defense, we already know what they're bringing to the table on that side of the ball. So, Carson Beck coming back for another year, and I just want to make sure we say this again. I would pick Georgia today to win the national title in 2024. We'll give it the offseason. We'll let the dust settle on the transfer portal. But as of right now, Carson Beck building on 37 points a game with that offense. We think a fair amount of the O-line will come back. This is massive in every sense of the word for Georgia, in every sense of the word for the Dogs and Carson Beck heading into next year. So that's very, very big. And want to make sure we talked about that together there, because it's easy to just read the headline and say, oh, well, Carson Beck's coming back. That's good. Good for Georgia. No. if he even gets better, it'll be tough for the rest of college football, man. We'll say that much. So here we go. It's bowl season. You got one chance now to watch your team. If they're lucky enough to be in bowl season, you have one more chance to watch them in person. It's cool to watch them at the house. That's fine. But game time is, one, bringing you the hard count today. And two, they're making sure that you get to enjoy the games in the real atmosphere of a college football game. Nothing like it, man. A lot of other sporting events out there, but a college football game, I'll tell you what, it is second to none, in my humble opinion. So game time is the fast and easy way to get you to that elite atmosphere, to get you to whatever bowl game your team is playing in. Heck, maybe the college football playoff game. Who knows the next time that we're going to be able to see your team in that college football playoff setting? This is big. So game time, the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the big-time matchups. College football games, maybe if you like other sports, Major League Baseball, maybe you like the NFL, maybe you like soccer. They got all the sporting events on game time. Also, concerts, comedy events, whatever you want to see, whatever you need tickets to, game time, they got it there. And they don't just have it there, they have it for the best prices. If you find a ticket that is in the same section and row for less than what you paid game time, they credit you 110% of the difference. That's massive. You can wait right up till the morning of the event. Buy the ticket with 2 taps. You're set to go. But here's the best way to do it. Now, this is the best way to help the show, best way to buy your tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and when you create an account, use code HARDCOUNT for your first purchase for $20 off. So that's HARDCOUNT, HARDCOUNT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, code HARDCOUNT, $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.